Walk with me through the cellar door.
A storm is coming, Francis.
A portal to a more skeptical world.
Cellar Door Skeptics begins right now. Prepare for the revolution with your hosts, Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna.
Welcome to another Cellar Door Skeptics. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. It is a Tanner and Hanna extravaganza tonight. There is no other team members joining us tonight for the pure fact of doing an old reminiscent show from like we did way back in all the yesteryears of such. We're also pre-recording this as a show that you'll get as a Patreon. You would have gotten this as a bonus issue. And then we will release it a couple of weeks later as an extra episode going into the new year. So given that the holidays like fall on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I have no idea what hours Hanna has to work, so we're pre-recording something tonight in an effort to make sure that we can get some more content to you.
I have no hours. I don't have to work any hours. It's amazing.
You have 2 weeks off?
I have so I have like paid time off, and I have just enough days so that I can take the Monday, Thursday, Friday, then the next Monday, Tuesday, and so I have Tuesday, Wednesday, and the next Wednesday off. And so I get from when I leave work on Friday, the whole week, and then till I think the second, which I believe is Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. It's the longest time period I've ever had off since I had summer break in college. It's been a long time, man. It's wild. It's really cool. So this is one of the major perks that I've been waiting for when it comes to being employed by someone else as opposed to myself. Because I used to look forward to this time period as like, oh, I'm so happy everyone else is going to be off. So now I can get so much work done. Now it's the exact opposite. It's like I'm going to get a bunch of stuff done ahead of time, but like this time period, the holiday season, so I'll spend some time with my parents in Grand Rapids, and my mother. We'll have a Hanukkah celebration. We'll do the candles and the prayers and stuff there, and I'll do the Christmas stuff with my family, and we'll do as much as the Christianity light that my family on that side has, and I'll but also have the whole New Year off. And it'll just be, it's light enough that it's an enjoyable experience. Every once in a while, we'll have a little thing where my grandfather will point to my daughter's little toes and say, "You can't really think that those are revolves, right?" Like those are too perfect to be just random happenstance. But most of the time, it's just a really enjoyable thing. But I won't have any work interspersed in there, so it's going to be a new experience for me.
Yeah, exactly. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just like watching the pyrotechnics of the new Tanner dashboard. The new video end of things that we have here is since I've been gone, right? Like the song, since I've been gone.
Since you've been gone.
But it's definitely been an interesting increase in our like presentation. It's bringing back old memories of starting with ACS analysis and all of the Google Hangouts that we used to do.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to kind of dive back into a couple of different things. We're going to definitely do a science segment. We have a small update about a concert venue I went to a couple weeks ago that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we'll talk music. So it'll be kind of weird, but that's what I think we're going to do. So hashtag bring back old memories. Hashtag, I should do another hashtag Tanner Hanna, hashtag Cellar Door Skeptics.
we could do a hashtag Hanna and Tanner 2016 or something along those lines. That's when we started everything. I mean, it's been a long time, man. We're closing in. It's going to be 2020 before you know it, and hopefully 2020 will be a good year. We've had some rough ones the last 3, but I mean, when it comes to the market and everything, we'll see what happens financially, but hopefully politically, this country kind of find some sort of equilibrium in the near future, because it's been pretty rough. I mean, I don't know. We've talked about all the politics many times as far as you and the other guys on the team. But like, it's just it's exasperating sometimes. One of the things that's been nice about having the time off is just kind of decompress. I've been diving into audiobooks and Dexter and all this kind of stuff. So just going through the books on there was just awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy because I have not ever read Dexter, nor have I ever really seen the show. Never got into it. It was never like a thing of mine. For it at all.
Surprises me. I would think the show would, at least the first season, would fit your fancy. It's a pretty I don't know, sharp show. It's a sharp one. I don't know, when you see something that's like a serial killer and it's well adapted.
Yeah. And I don't think I have a problem with it. I think the big thing for me here is we look at it and I go, a serial killer that's going to help other people.
Yeah, it's basically framed as a vigilante.
It seems silly to me. So
what it is spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't gone through. I mean, it's been at least 10 years now, but the first season, essentially, Dexter is he's a serial killer trained by his father in the Harry Code, and he was an old perfect cop. He was by the book, never ever go against the rules, and he adopted Dexter, and Dexter was found in a shipping container in roughly 2 to 3 inches of blood with his brother, and his mother had been chopped up and other people also chopped up with a chainsaw in front of the two boys. The boys were separated. Dexter was adopted and his brother was not. And so his brother went off into, the system. And so he was allowed to flourish, just completely uncontained. Dexter was allowed to flourish, but contained and controlled. And so all of this like wanton bloodlust was actually directed towards the Harry Code, which said that the only people that could ever be disposed of were the ones that were provable beyond the doubt. And then also that had gotten through the system, so to speak. And so like they were provable. He had absolute proof they had murdered and killed, and then the system had failed when it was unable to get them. It was kind of one of those questions that they talk about the ones that basically use the system to get away. So
yeah. So then it brings up the different concepts. Is Dexter a good person? Right? I mean, is the moral dilemma there because he wants to kill people, but he's been able to control that, psychosis inside of himself by only murdering bad people.
Yeah, that's what the show talks about it, and so like it does sensationalize it a little bit. I don't know. It's one of those things that if you accept the show's premise that being someone with wanton bloodlust, someone who is just has to kill, is something that is nature as opposed to nurture, and there's no way to fight it. So his father basically says that, oh, you are this kind of person and there's no way to change it. We have to just try to square you away, is what he says, and teach him to stay inside this code. Otherwise, because there's no way to stop Dexter from killing, according to his foster father or his adoptive father. So that idea there. But so if you accept the show's premise that Dexter could not be changed, he would always be a murderer, then this is, the premise is said that make him a vigilante, a dark avenger. He refers to himself quite often. And in the show, they do a very good job of like having like, it's Dexter and he has kind of this like almost a schizo personality with like a dark passenger that rides along with him, and he kind of directs him and gives him hints throughout the series.
So if that's the case, right? How close is the books to the show? Like, are they like mirroring? Is it
surprising? It really is surprisingly close. I was genuinely happily surprised that it was. As I was listening to the audiobooks, I could see the characters, Michael C. Hall, and I can never remember Dexter's sister's name in the show, but she plays Deborah. She was the girl from The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, okay.
She's a phenomenal actress. And there's a series of other actors in the show that are great. If you've ever seen the meme with there's a African American detective named Sergeant Dokes, and in the show he is just as intense as he is in the books. And with one scene when he's in because we're not going to break the explicit tag, it says "surprise, mother," and in that the way he always talks, and he always drops the F-bomb, and it's always the Sam Jackson tone. He there's a YouTube video or a meme out there. This guy's some fries, mother. Like he plays off all of the words and stuff, and like that was like and so like that was right there in the books, and it's very similar, very well done. One thing that the show does that the book doesn't do that made me really, really happy is the book goes off into what I like to call fantasy land, and it happened in True Blood as well. Is that the first season, the first series, the first serial killer in Dexter was awesome, just a really well put together. And then the second one turned into this esoteric god thing with like, this ancient creature who is almost like a dark angel. And it's just like, you get so wallowed and bogged down in the supernatural that it pulls you away from the one thing that was really cool about the show. Is like listening to this guy wrestle with being a vigilante serial killer, killing the bad guys, but he is still a serial killer who cuts up bodies for reasons unknown, but also completely like inner and like uncontrollable. And but the book, the television series, the HBO series, I believe it was, or was it Showtime? I'm not certain, but
Showtime.
It was Showtime. They did a very nice job of kind of like removing that supernatural bit to a certain degree. There was one section that had Dexter questioning. He never really says that religion is a good idea. The book questions it and says it's kind of ridiculous. The television series, he kind of questions and looks into it because there is a killer who's like using that kind of concept as a guide, using the Old Testament stuff. So like. But it's a fairly atheistic and a fairly non-believing book, which is enjoyable as well. But the one book it's like this Moloch, this one of the gods of like like a Canaanite god or something along those lines. Like, and it's just I don't know where in the Bible it was. I just know it's in the Bible because they mention it like 100 times in a book, and it just gets so bogged down. I was just like, I was bummed by that, but like. Other than that, it's been a really close mix, and the changes that the TV show did, I think, were for the better, except for the ending of the series, which most people think Lumberjack Dexter is ridiculous, but so is Buddy the Lumberjack.
Buddy the Lumberjack is very ridiculous.
Yeah. Anybody who went through the whole series will know what I'm talking about when you think Lumberjack Dexter. And so, like, the series ends in this. They had to find some way to end it. There's a hurricane coming, and it's going to destroy everything. And a whole bunch of things happen. Deborah gets stabbed, I think it is, and all of this stuff. And Dexter, gets in his boat and he just drives into the eye of the hurricane, and ta-da, the end. And then it leaves like a cliffhanger. Like, will he be in the other season? He's obviously alive and in another place. And then it just never gets like, it's worse than like people always used to complain about like the Sopranos ending and all these other ones. And the Dexter ending is something that a lot of people are conflicted with. I like the idea. It's like, oh, he's just out there being Dexter somewhere else. But some people just like really nice, clean closing endings. And so this wasn't one of them for them. And the books just don't really end because I don't think Jeff Lindsay ever really will stop. If he may be working on something, I haven't seen anything new in a long time, but the audiobooks were thoroughly enjoyable, and the series I think was even better if you can make it through like the low spots, as with any show.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's, I don't know, I like I said, I mean, it just doesn't feel the same, my friend. That's all.
Yeah.
And so like I have a harder time getting into it. How about this? Secret. I didn't get into Breaking Bad either. Not at all.
Oh, I haven't touched it. The first episode, it just didn't really hit my fancy. I bet you it might if I spent some more time into it. The same thing with Game of Thrones is like I've just kept my hands back. Maybe one day. Game of Thrones is daunting though, because Game of Thrones is like, what is that, 140 episodes or something like that? Is what 12 episodes and 8 seasons? So that's like,
they're not all 12 episodes. I don't know. I guess you're on we'll just say an average 10 episodes for 8 seasons.
Okay, so 80 episodes, and those bad boys were 60 minutes a pop, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really close. That's a long time. That's a long investment.
That is true. And that's, I don't know.
And it's not available as far as I know on any streaming besides the HBO, and I don't have that yet.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. I don't think you can get it on anything but HBO. Yeah. But like we actually have HBO not because of Game of Thrones per se, it was one of those things we watched John Oliver, and I actually
Oh,
was
yeah, I
the
remember
same
that.
position you were, man. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into
Multiples.
I'm not gonna. I'm not doing this whole Game of Thrones thing, and then
But you got books and you got movies, like, or shows. You went into the whole deal.
Oh yeah, the wife and I sat down that one time, and it was over Christmas break. I had 2.5 weeks off, and I started watching them because we had HBO because of John, and I was just bored. I was like, "There's nothing on," and then I was like, "Oh, these are really good."
Oh.
And a month, I think it took me a month and a half to get through the 6 seasons, and then it was either 6 or 5. I can't remember. It was 5, and then the 6th season came out, and then I read every one of the books, like right in succession, just my Audible, just like boom, done, boom, done. The only one I have not read is the prequel one. And that one the problem is I'm caught right now, right? Because I'm stuck between where the books I'm reading. So like I started the Thrawn series books for Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
And that's pretty good actually. And there's another series called The Wheel of Time.
Yeah. I actually know too.
I'm now on book 7 or 8. And I've read every one of those are like the same length style as Game of Thrones. It's a 20 to 30 hour book to read,
Mm-hmm.
And driving back and forth to Wisconsin has been a help only for the pure fact that you're in the car for 8 hours a week. Dude. That's 8 hours of time to listen.
That's a lot. Like you'll be able to slam a lot of text. And one of the things I now drive almost 3 times as much as I used to. So I used to have about an 11 to 12 minute drive. I've got at least 22 minutes in the morning and then probably closer to 40 on the way home. And so I've got, I'm pulling in a full hour at least a day of drive time, which it used to only be about 20 minutes, 25 minutes max. And so I'm doubled, maybe triple my drive time. And so I have been enjoying audiobooks a little bit more when it comes to that. And so it's been the Dexter series that I've been going into, and then trying to find all the local NPR stations. There's a really nice one in Idea Stream is what it's called in Cleveland. It's really enjoyable. So I just kind of like the car ride, podcasting is what for a decent amount, but then I flipped on the USB drive that I have in my computer or in my car, and I just started loading in audiobooks, and I had the whole Dexter series, and so I said, let's do it. Let's just go in and just go beginning to end and rock it out. And it's like every once in a while I have it'll be books, and then it'll be podcasts. I'll go through I'll find a new podcast, and it'll be 100 episodes, and I'll listen to all of them in succession. And these nice little groupings like that. It's kind of similar to what you've got going on. I haven't found any new book series besides the Dexter one, so I have no idea what's next. I don't know if it's going to be like a music thing where I find like a new band and I'll listen to all of their music repetitively, nonstop, like 4 or 5 albums. The band that we talked about before when we prepped a little bit for the show tonight, that could be something that I might get into because they sound really interesting. It's like part of me is like interested. There has to be an intellectual element, so that'll be pretty cool. But like the Dexter stuff has been enjoyable, and it's one of the things that it's nice to compare like the TV shows, the differences and everything. And so like Game of Thrones will probably be something that I get into at some point in my life. Like right now I'm in a room filled with boxes. I'm just not done moving in yet, and so probably once that gets cleared up a little bit, I'll be able to spend a little more time like watching TV. So I have a TV right above my monitor here now. So I bought a brand new all-in-one unit, like a PC that's got everything in there just to minimize the difficulties of everything. And so my computer, my soundbar are all stacked up in the corner. So I've got like my little podcasting station. It's pretty nice. But the rest of this house is, as far as my space, is not even close to done. We just finally got everything painted. And it's just going to be one of those things like we're finally starting to put stuff away. And hopefully in the spring, it'll just be like, hey, I'm home. I can just watch some TV after the kids are in bed instead of not having like a list of things to work on.
I think you're going to always have a list of things to work on because I think that's your personality to some extent, my friend.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to podcast and then I'm going to go mud a room tonight. Like what? Yeah. What is wrong with like? Do you not like to sleep? Where's the sleeping aspect, my friend? Like I'm getting older. I'm not going to say I need 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, but I like to get 6. I don't do well without 6.
Yeah, the 5:30 in the morning is getting to me. Like I the other day I went to bed at like 8:30. Like just enough days of like midnight to 5:30. My daughter was like, "Can you just lay down and snuggle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this." So like I'm on the couch, I'll read her a book, and she's like, let's just snuggle." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Are you gonna go to bed immediately? We'll lay here for a couple minutes." And like I wake up, it's like, oh, it's like one, like carry her, put her in bed, and then I just climb into my bed and sleep. But like it's sleeping started at like 8:30 at night, and this is like this alien experience. But those are those are the kind of moments that like I'll only have a couple of times with my kids. Like younger, they're gonna grow up, it's gonna be gone and immediately. And so like enjoying these little tiny moments. Like my youngest today my wife went shopping. She left the home. We went shopping yesterday and we bought a brand new minivan. I own a minivan. I am like thoroughly in the middle class now. Like I'm just so completely like I have a Dodge Caravan, but we got a Dodge Caravan GT. It's got like 285 horsepower. It's pretty cool. It's all blacked out, like dark windows, dark wheels. It looks pretty cool. But
did you pay cash for it, or did you
almost
lease it?
Oh, we only financed about 20 or 30% of it. It's like I could have covered the whole thing, but I just figured, let's keep money in the bank to a certain degree because we've been spending a ton of money on the house and everything. But like I was genuinely surprised on the cost add-on when you finance a car. Like if you finance $7,000-8,000, there's $1,000 of added fees just in closing costs to close that loan. That's a big deal. Like all of these extra costs and things I didn't know about because I've never financed a car before. Because I always like tried to buy cash out, but this is more expensive than anything I've ever bought. And so it's but so like yesterday we spent the big money on that, and then my wife went Christmas shopping because we have to do it. And so I had from essentially this morning I made breakfast and I had the kids the whole day. One of my real good friends from Grand Rapids is actually in Cleveland, and he stopped in and just he and his girlfriend Sam stopped in. My friend Mike is a photography business, Forward Exposure. He's Grand Rapids. He does weddings and portrait photography and all this kind of stuff. He's awesome. He does great. He's got a drone. He does like the drone stuff. It's really cool. But he stopped in and he was just like he's a good friend from high school, and it was nice to see a familiar face. And then but like it was me and the girls all day, and that used to be like a really rare thing, and now it's more common. Like I just see them every weekend. So like I don't know, it's like being a dad with my kids at home on the weekends is like a normal thing now, and it's just I'm in such a happy place. Like I loved owning my own company. I loved working with my dad every day, but I also incredibly love being at home, being with my family, being with my kids for more than like a couple hours on the weekend, like all day long. They're like, yeah, dad's here. I'm just gonna be here with dad. Like this is it's a new experience, and it's still unique, but it's awesome. And it's fleeting. Like they'll be 3 times as old and twice as big and all that kind of stuff in no time. So like I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah, you can't pass those moments.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, our next segment,
things you hate.
Tesla truck design fail, or as the article likes to call it, is the Tesla Cybertruck revolutionary?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You tell me. So let's bring up a picture a minute. I'm gonna do that first. I'm gonna bring up a picture. I'm gonna get it right off the Tesla website. Now I will say that's the Cybertruck information. Like just that wording, that's pretty metal. I like that. That's kind of cool.
That's Elon.
But that's that vehicle. I mean, he's even the tires. They're like, here, let's make this into triangle. It's like you don't have triangle tires, dude. You're not a tank. That's not how this works. I don't understand the logic. And maybe the article we're gonna read from the Science Company in a minute will explain this gibberish. This looks ridiculous. Not only where's your side mirrors? I see 0 side mirrors. So how do you have side mirrors?
That could be something that comes out, so the handles pop out as well.
Maybe
the handles pop out, so when you start driving, maybe they open up. They could be fully done with cameras. That could be something that they have a huge digital dash that they use for everything. And so test driving minivans this weekend, It's an interesting thing. When you test drive a minivan and you get a brand new minivan, 2018, 2019, you turn your turn signals on when you're getting on and off the highway, and all of a sudden a camera pops up and shows you your blind spot and everything in your generator on the main mid screen. You don't even have to turn your head. You do because you should, but there's a camera that shows you everything that's already over there when you turn your turn signal on. It's really impressive, and it's disjointing and discomforting at first, but it kind of starts to turn into something normal after you spend a few minutes with it. But like cameras all over the place, cameras forward, cameras reverse, cameras on the side, blind spots. And I'm assuming that this thing is definitely employing those things. But I don't know. As a fan of Blade Runner and a fan of just shaking up the system to a certain degree, like I don't know. I've always kind of liked the Honda Ridge lines and the Chevy Avalanches to a certain degree. For that particular platform had kind of like a interchangeability where it could be like an SUV, it could be like a pickup truck, and this thing is kind of taking that to the next level.
It could be. It could be. I don't know. I believe that he shot the glass too, and it was supposed to be bulletproof glass, and it shattered.
Oh, so the doors themselves, the stainless steel they're using is the same stainless steel they're using on the rockets for SpaceX, and it is bulletproof. They shot the doors, and it'll stop a 9mm bullet. You can shoot a police gun at this thing, and it will not stop it, or it will stop it. The windows themselves are shatterproof from impacts and stuff. So like you can in the experimentation, they threw a steel ball at it at a certain velocity and it broke, and it didn't break at the velocity they were testing it at. But so like side mirrors and things in standard cars nowadays don't have a lot of shatterproof windows. Only the windshield has that interior. There's like a mesh inside, a plastic mesh that keeps the glass from shattering completely. The side mirrors and things like that, in a lot of cases, don't have that. But this is supposed to be kind of like what would be considered like a Pyrex, like a tempered glass. It's a little tougher and heavier duty, and obviously it shattered because the dude threw the ball pretty hard in the video. What it was supposed to do is that it was shatterproof. It just cracked up. So the glass was a failure, and I'm sure they'll figure out something along those lines. But like you can never expect it to be completely crack proof, but shatterproof is a different story. If you threw a ball window at a normal car now, it would explode. Like they threw a steel ball at it, and so it would explode, and it would just go right through. This thing here, it's just like all of the windows are kind of like windshields. They just crack, but they don't explode. And like a rear windshield or a rear window, like you've seen videos of people like doing a flip on their car and land on their windshield, and then goosh, like it just disappears. It just turns into a pile of glass dust. So like that's what they're trying to fight.
I think Star Wars has them beat though.
Everybody was saying that it looks like a Star Wars vehicle. Yeah,
I mean, I could be wrong. I think that's pretty close. You know what that is, right? That's a Jawa. They scrap parts.
Yeah, that was what the droids were on when was it Obi-Wan and Luke went to get the droids off? I can't remember exactly who went on to that to get the droids. That was with C-3PO and
yes, they wouldn't rescue them.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but okay, here we go. It looks similar. Come on, man.
I know.
Oh my god! And then look at the trailer.
I know. So here's the thing. So if you look at that picture right there,
this is not a truck. Let's stop calling this a truck because it is not a truck.
It's a cyber SUV. Yeah, it's a cyber SUV or something. But I mean, it's just fun to say, I guess. But like that bed is what that last video, that picture you had. That bed is as big as a pickup truck that you have with an extended cab. So if you get like a Silverado with an extended cab, you get a 4-foot wide by 6-foot bed. That's what you get. And that right there in that picture with the SUV in the back or like the little campers on there, those are the same exact size as what you get if you got a Chevy Silverado Z71 with an extended cab or a crew cab. So it's a 4-door. I mean, it's the same size bed that you would have, but it's, it's wrapped in, what some people would say is an interesting exterior package. One thing that I like to point out is not a lot of people have been talking about is if you look at the general shape of that, the most aerodynamic shape that you can possibly have is a teardrop, a raindrop. And if you look at the general shape of that vehicle, it's very similar to that. The center of gravity is towards the front, the higher peak, and then it slowly tapers off towards the back. That vehicle itself, sharp angles and strange lines aside, is aerodynamic. It's going to give you better aerodynamics when it comes to your general drive. And they have the slide glass that goes down over the back, which might even be a solar panel. I'm not entirely certain if that has, because it could be small, tiny solar panels. But either way, if they don't utilize that space for solar regeneration, that shape itself is very aerodynamic. So, I mean, there's a bunch of things that could be used here for increasing the what is it, miles per electron volt or something along those lines. They measure that with.
It also looks like this.
Yeah,
it's a mouse droid.
Did you look at any of the the Blade Runner comparisons? Do the Cybertruck versus Blade Runner comparison, because there was like a taxi cab in the movie that was it's frighteningly similar, and it's like the long windshield, huge visibility, and I think it's cool. I mean,
what is it called?
It's the Blade Runner.
Okay, you don't know the name of it.
Yeah, no, it's the Blade Runner comparison for like the Blade Runner Cybertruck comparison. Yeah, and I guarantee they'll be like immediately. Yeah, right there to the bottom or middle right. There's like a yellow taxi cab. No, over left one. Oh, there's a perfect comparison.
It's even.
Yeah,
so,
go up.
So
just
now
go
what
up
you're telling me is that he ripped it off. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, and no, I mean it's everything Elon Musk does has all kinds of connections to pop culture. The dude knows what he's doing when it comes to like marketing something interesting. There's all kinds of nods. So they put a car in space is one of the things that they did. Like, he does everything with a little bit of flair. It's not just plain Jane, boringness. As far as like when you think of like the upper class capitalists that run GM or whatever, it's just like they have no personality. There's no interesting there. There's no risk taking. It's all by the numbers. How can we maximize profits and decrease? Now, give me a problem with that comparison. The Cybertruck looks kind of like the Batmobile.
I'm saying that's cooler. Give me that instead.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry.
Well, for I think you said it was $50,000 to start. You can buy a Cybertruck. I don't know what the heck you could buy a Batmobile for.
You can't, because they don't produce them because they're illogical.
Yeah.
All right. So, is there science? Oh my God, we gotta. Is there actual science behind this?
Well, behind the exterior of the vehicles, the larger space, the electrical drives and everything. I mean, it's cost much less per mile if you are near these stations. All the factors for the electrical vehicles, the EVs, I like to call them, they all go to, they say it's cheaper. It is cheaper. The one big question is the lithium ion battery systems that these vehicles use is, the cobalt and third world harvesting of all the resources and bringing it into the US and bringing it here and then making these really big batteries. And then some people have said that the electric vehicle batteries are the next generation's health or environmental crisis. All these batteries that we have going on right now, they're not very recyclable. So like the question is like, there are perks to electrical vehicles. It's way cheaper per mile if you're charging and using these vehicles. Your initial investment is a little bit higher, so it balances out a little bit. Like if you buy the GM Volt, it's a $30,000 car, but it's only a 2-person car. It's not really a 4-person car, and so the cost is high in comparison to other 2-person vehicles. And there isn't really that much of an infrastructure for charging, but Tesla's on the West Coast. There's a big infrastructure in California. This is something that in a small scale, in a regional scale, it is a useful thing. The like I said earlier, the metal technology, the stainless steel that they're using on this stuff, it's really rigid. It's really strong. Its capabilities seriously outclass the F-150, which is the number one pickup truck in the country as far as capabilities and towing and all that kind of stuff. Like those are things that he showed off. Whether or not there's an environmental issue with, like, hey, we're saving the environment with using electricity, but in the long run, we have this pile of poison batteries that have to be destroyed or repurposed or whatever. So like, there's a lot of questions in that. I personally think that this is probably a good area, at least to think that we need like, that transitional fossil, right, from obviously poisoning the atmosphere in fossil fuels to a fully sustainable renewable resource. I think this may be not a perfect, but a good transitional space. And I think electric vehicles are going to probably be that thing. Maybe we'll have these like your what was the game that you used to play, Fallout, that had the suits with the nuclear batteries,
power armor. Yeah.
And like you have neutral power armor batteries. Like in theory, those things could last or like what is it, RoboCop? I think RoboCop had a power armor that was powered by a tiny nuclear battery cell that could last for however long, crazy amounts of time. Like these kinds of things are in the future. I think this is it's a transitional step. And I think it's cool. I just think it's cool. My modern sensibilities as far as architecture, this house, if you ever come down to Cleveland and see it, you're going to look at this house that I live in, and you're going to look at that truck and be like, yes, there's a reason he likes that truck, because his house is insane. Like I bought this really weird architect. This house is designed by an architect. He actually lived in it. And so like, there's nothing normal in my house. Weird angles, sharp corners. It's dangerous for kids. I had to put gates everywhere so my kids wouldn't fall down like 4 flights of stairs. It's just everything about it is sharp angles and like, modern and contemporary design. Like I like weird things that are sharp angles and stuff like that. So it just kind of fits my beat.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm all for things. How about this? I'll drive an ugly car if it's reduced the price and it saves the environment. I mean, right here, it states that that it's more efficient by 17 to 21 cents, per mile.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
For gasoline engines is between 17 and 21%, but it said that for electric vehicles it's closer to 50%. Like the amount of energy you put in per cent used, you get way more back as far as like what you're getting. Like it really is a really good deal. The question is it a short-term benefit and then a long-term detriment, like the batteries?
Yeah.
Like are these going to be this horrible monster of recycling, destruction, death? Is there a way to recycle these batteries completely? And so like that's a question that Tesla and a lot of battery people are still answering. And so that's one place.
Yeah, but look at what the destruction. Okay. But the difference is if you slow global warming down.
Yeah.
Yes, it's still going to suck. I mean, look at how many power, stations that we have in the United States, right? And there's nuclear waste, where unless you're making bombs or unless you are going to build fallout shelters, at some point that could become a problem too. Mm-hmm. And it has been a problem in multiple communities. But, here, I mean, even here, and this is for me, this is more exciting. It's ugly as shit. If it was cheaper than buying a new car, like if he came in and said, hey, the price point for this vehicle will last you 20 years, and the price point for this vehicle is 30 grand. You give me a truck for 30 grand, sign me up.
I think that well, that's what it is. I think that so like the Tesla Model 3, which they wanted to be the Model E, but there's Tesla Model S and the Tesla Model X, and so this one was supposed to be the Model 3 and instead of the Model E, and so they were like, yeah, we can't let you have your 3 cars be Model SEX. That's not going to be allowable because Elon likes to push those boundaries, and so this one was the Model 3. But either way, the Model 3 is the most recent one, and I believe that's a $30,000 MSRP, which is expensive for any car, but that is the low point. I've said this for years, is that if someone can make a $20,000 electric vehicle that is literally a steering wheel, 4 wheels, windshield, and windows, like if it's something that you can drive in the winter and it's an electric vehicle at 20 grand, you could start the revolution as far as electric vehicles. I think the $20,000 mark is the thing to hit, because if you look at the lowest cost cars, that's where they are, 19 to 22, 24. And like, I mean, those are the ones, the Honda Accord, the Civic, the Toyota Camry, like they all hover in that $20,000 range, and that's accessible still. You get to the middle size SUV, that's 25 to 27. As minivans are 32. So like that entry vehicle, if you can get some people, just like the average small, maybe 2 people family into the little guys. But like, yeah, so like the single motor is only 40 grand to start. Dual motor, all-wheel drive. So like the all-wheel drive would be like, that's the base. That's the one you should go with. That's a $50,000 vehicle. That's impressive when it comes to the Cybertruck. It really is. Like a Chevy pickup now at $39,000 is base. I mean, base. So like if you can buy a Chevy, the first couple of Ford and Chevy vehicles came out recently, Chevy pickups and Ford pickups that are $100,000. It's just a pickup truck, just an insanely, ridiculously awesome pickup truck. But there's a couple of them that have hit $100,000 now for a pickup. Yeah, base model. Looks like base model 21.3, and then just a normal Silverado that looks like a 4-wheel drive at 28.3.
Essentially, it's right here, 49. This is what that's your equivalent.
Yeah. Yep. So if you want wheels, it's another 10 grand. I mean, like, I love that they got the 28.3 shown on there. Like, on what planet? Like, if you want a windshield, it's gonna be an extra $800. We got to make sure we cover it. I mean, whatever. So like, in the end, like all of these pickup trucks are really, really expensive, and so Tesla is coming in actually undercutting in a decent amount. Whether or not people will go for it, I'm interested. I think it'll be pretty cool. I like someone shaking up the system, and I've always been a fan of electric vehicles. I really have. So this is cool.
Not a fan of the design, though.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
fine. Yeah, like you said, though, you would drive something ugly if it was really good for the environment, and that's kind of, I think, what he might be banking on is that some people might be like, but it doesn't burn CO2.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are like that. How much are you going to complain about a vehicle if you could get? And again, if he were walking out the door and saying, "Hey, my cost is 10 grand, let's say, to produce this, or 15 grand, I'll sell it to you for $1,000 over my cost." At some point, then it's kind of like, there you go. Like, and if he wants to do something revolutionary, that's what he would do. He would do that.
Right now, I know for a fact that his listing price there at 39, 49, and 59, I think it was, that's lower than his cost. So Tesla has been losing money for a decade. They haven't come anywhere near a profit, and they probably won't for probably another decade. There's a question. So like the initial points as to whether or not, small company like this will be able to ever actually make a profit and become like the norm. Back in the day when all of these kinds of things were being done, we talked about this when the switch from Republicans to Democrats, and how Republicans used to love infrastructure spending because it built up big business. And this is the same kind of thing. So like this is a company trying to build up to be a big business, trying to be one of the big, the big three. They're challenging the big three, and what they're doing there, they're challenging the big three without any kind of government incentive, without any kind of government buildup. And this is an interesting thing because like that infrastructure is there, relatively speaking. They've been told, hey, you want to do this? The oil industry already owns the government, so you build your infrastructure yourself. So Tesla went out and they built that super highway thing that they've got going on. And when it comes to it, like Tesla is going about this without any major what we would like to call government support, but it's socialist support. We had huge socialist agendas in this country when it came to building the infrastructure and building the major companies and the major automotive industry throughout the history. Tesla is doing it without that support, and they're doing a pretty good job. So if it works out, this is just, it's an example of it's an example of how capitalism can work in this country, because if Tesla works, it's purely because of capitalism. If they're not getting any special government handouts, it's a big deal. I know there are electric vehicle rebates that some people get. When you buy an electric vehicle, you get a rebate. I don't know if those are still in place anymore, because I think maybe the Trump administration would have been doing the best they could to cut some of those things down. But Yeah, if Tesla survives, it would be a testament to the general competitiveness of our market, as opposed to the pre-existing infrastructure out there. So, but this vehicle, I think it's like a poke in the eye to the big guys, and I enjoy that. I enjoy the little guy poking, right? It's just like a pupil, just like scratch your nail on the pupil. That long drawn out pain that you get.
That is true. And that's, I don't know, that kind of takes us to the next segment. And like I said, I support anything that changes things. It's disgusting that a vehicle has to cost that much money to build. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I get it. I do get it to some extent, but at the exact same time, I don't, because again, how do we fix it so people don't need vehicles? Where's our mass transport?
That's the Jacobin Magazine. So I'm a huge fan of the Jacobin Magazine. I know a lot of people think that, well, the Jacobins themselves in history, if you look it up, not the best history. But the Jacobin Magazine they put out an article the other day about this, and the question is that we shouldn't be trying to create electronic vehicles, individual single person vehicles. We should be working on mass personal transportation systems, all of the public transportation. Like, that should be the goal of our country, so that when you walk out of your house, you don't need a $30,000 tank to drive down the street. You just go out and there's a transportation system built for you to get to where you need to go. Like, that's what we should be investing in. And personally, if that was possible, I would think that if we were in more metropolitan, say European space, I really think that would be possible. The United States is so diverse and expansive that I don't think that ever be completely possible in the country, aside from small regional cycle systems. But like, I would love to see more investment in that. But Michigan and Ohio, Michigan more than Ohio, surprisingly, has resisted that. In Ohio, they have an RTA system, which is there's a tax on anybody and everybody anywhere near Cleveland called the RETA tax, RTA system, and it's an infrastructure of public transportation that they just tax you. And 1% of your, or 2% of your yearly income. So if you make 50 grand, you're going to pay $1,000, plain and simple. And I'm cool with it. They have a ton of stuff that they do, but it's one of those things where you think of the socialist paradigm that is Ohio.
Yeah, you would not think that
I know
that fits. That doesn't fit.
It's mostly Cuyahoga County, which is Cleveland itself. Ohio has its libertarian bastions, but Cleveland, the denseness of its metropolitan area, as we know, when you're in a more dense metropolitan area, you do see swings more towards socialist programming and progressive ideals, and so that's kind of what happened in this city. So I work with a bunch of people who live outside that area, and they complain about those things.
I think a lot of people will complain about that. And think about it this way. What if, and hear me out. What if you took and we created mass transport systems between all these different areas, right? And then for your outlying areas, you created a subsidized, and now we're going so far off the deep end on this episode. Like we it's like tangent. It's the tangent twins. There you go. We're the tangent.
We have to.
Twins
we have to.
Tonight.
That's just how we used to roll.
But think about it. If you were able to now I'm derailing.
Rail that shit.
Now derailing tangents with. Anyway, if you think about it this way, if you could,
are you thinking rail? I'm thinking rail.
Yeah. If you could get a system where you had a government subsidized jobs, that you had mass transit systems, and then these outliers, you had organizations and that paid, and then you penalize companies that worked odd hours. So right, and it's funny because in Holland we had a company, we had people complaining that a gas station wasn't open at 1 a.m. and they because this gas station posted we couldn't get enough employees to work this late shift, and people are like, well, this is ridiculous. This is the people should start at the bottom and work their way up, and it's like, whoa, hold on. No.
Wait, you started at the bottom. Did you work the night shift at a gas station?
Nobody wants to work that. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous to do to some extent. Right?
Yeah.
But think of it this way. If we had mass, we could shut down a lot of these companies, right? But if you had transit, and so let's say you had to, we could make the company be on call, so it's third shift, you're on call. It's kind of like Uber, but instead of this Uber and this Lyft, we're actually creating the government subsidized system. So for me, for example, we get transitioned into Hudsonville. Hudsonville's like the drop-off point, or Granville. That's like the drop-off point for the bus system for the most part from downtown Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Then, there's people that will take you back and forth to your houses. We can get massive vehicles. Like, all right, everybody pile into this. This is your tax dollars at work.
Yeah.
And if we took 15 people to New Zealand versus all of us going at one time, yeah, it would suck for me as an individual because I like my weird hours. Like if I want to go home at 2, I go home at 2. If I want to go home at 7, I go home at 7. But if you could figure out a subsidized system that supplements this so we can get a better transit system between the two outlying areas, you could fix a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. So there's a cool thing. Like I said a few times, if you're thinking rail, I'm thinking rail, but there's more derail. But either way, so there's a city real close to me. It is probably one of the highest class cities in Cleveland. It's called Shaker Heights. And the people who live there have the kind of money they have in East Grand Rapids. They have the kind of money they have in Ada and Cascade. So big money for you guys over there in West Michigan. And here, they're in Shaker Heights is known. You will pay, I don't know, if you own a $300,000 house in Shaker Heights, you'll spend $7,000 to $9,000 a year in taxes. That's the kind of taxation base they have there, and they have it specifically designed to keep the riffraff out. It's like going to a restaurant that serves cheeseburgers, but they're $30 cheeseburgers. And the reason they have it there is because they just don't want people coming in to mess up with the the higher quality folks that'll be coming in. And so Shaker Heights is an area where I live, and in Shaker Heights, it's one of the developmental areas. So the owners of a lot of the infrastructure and industry in Cleveland lived in Shaker Heights. And guess what's in Shaker Heights? A train.
No.
A high-speed, nice little train that you just jump on, part of the RTA system. And if you live in Shaker Heights, you just walk across the street or down to the end of your road. You get on a train, it takes you right into Cleveland. Just boom, right on in. Like they had all this extra infrastructure, and they had this money to build this really nice little city. And they wanted to get in and out of the city quickly, and they wanted a straight line in. And this was stuff that was done early in Cleveland's experience, but like they don't use it very much anymore because we're a car culture now. But back in the day, a city having its own rail in and out of the city was a huge deal. And so like they have this awesome train that drives empty cars back and forth from Cleveland because they built it and they no longer use it. Like these kinds of things, like short-term infrastructure. So like we hear about China, we hear about Japan, bullet trains and massive, ridiculous, super speed creatures going from city to city in one long distances. And then inside that small space, they also have trains going back and forth into those like like large people mover systems. And those are awesome. And so like all of this electrical vehicle stuff, and then the Jacobin thing I mentioned when like large infrastructure situations, like there are solutions to this kind of stuff. And we're hesitant to try any of them. And the reason we're hesitant to try any of them is because we're fed the message from the people who own the media companies and who are, our current politicians, the boomers. Okay, boomer, it's never given the full credence that it could possibly have. Like, is it an option? Let's fully flesh it out and see what it can do. If it fails, awesome. Then we completely check that off for the future. But we never really give it any kind of chance. We give it a little sniff, and that's about it. And so, I mean, I really think that electrical vehicles, as I said, is a transitional thing. That as we wait for the boomers to leave the political class, we see the Generation X kids come in. We see, the adults that came of age in the 80s. We see them come in, and they're going to be a little more progressive. They're probably going to still have some Reaganomics in them, but it'll be a little bit less. And then when we see the millennials come in, we'll probably see a bunch more understanding, if the world isn't on fire at that point, to social programming and building infrastructure like this. So like it's kind of a waiting game. Like, is there a transitional fossil that we can have in between, creating something that we don't have to have 2,000, 3,000 pounds of steel moving one person to and from work every morning?
Exactly. I don't know. Like I support it. I think that I think that's the way to go for the future to some extent. And I mean, I guess until we get like the transportation modules, right, where we can just teleport somewhere.
Yeah.
Then
What
that's
was
even
the,
better.
what was the iRobot movie with Will Smith where he was like driving and everybody else was just like sitting in their pod like moving and they were like, you're driving by yourself? Why? Or Minority Report with
Yeah.
Tom Cruise where they were like, it was just like everything was automated. You're just on a conveyor line.
Yeah, you hop in a car and it goes. You hop in and it does this, and you're like, oh,
Yeah, it's all automated. You're just in a pod moving on the highway.
yeah. Well, speaking of more left-leaning philosophies, I had an interesting experience a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
I thought it would be fun to talk about. I went to a festival, a mini festival called Riot Fest. It's different. It's definitely not for anybody that doesn't like metal. I'll just admit that. There is a lot of rumors that go into this, and this is like such a huge topic. Like this could be another hour discussion. There's all sorts of things that go into this. So we'll back the story up back to the beginning of October. My buddy reached out to me and said, "Hey, the band The Armed?" And I said, "Yep, love them. They're one of my favorite bands."
ARMED.
Yep.
Just for anybody who can't hear quite as well as I can, because I can't hear with a crap. I was just hearing the armed. There's we have a link on there. We'll be including it. It's thearmed.com, so you can check them out.
There you go, right here, The Arm. Yeah, and it's kind of funny that their website's very
Minimalist.
limited. and I say here's their YouTube page, and I say that because of the fact that it's not a big thing for them, right? The way their albums are, they're kind of underground. They actually have some commercial success because their music was used in a commercial, and I can't remember which commercial. I'll look it up in a minute for you. But they were used in a commercial, and they got a little bit of popularity from there. But the big thing is that they're a very unknown band. They don't use the same artists. There could be anywhere between 3 and 7 people. But what happened was my buddy messaged me and says, "Hey, the Armed is playing this show. They don't ever play shows. The majority of the shows that they play are in karaoke bars, random stops. Like if they're traveling, they'll just like walk into a bar and say, 'Hey, can we play a show here? Here's our music.'"
Hoc. Yeah,
everything like that. That's not their main source of income per se. And so they've kind of created a weird little cult type following, right? I mean, my buddy have wanted to see them for about a year now, maybe a year.
So they're
and
a
half.
hard band to find then, more than likely.
Yeah.
Like to see them live is like you need to be part of the underground club.
For the most part, yeah. They play like 1 or 2 live shows that they announce a year. They do play a lot in Detroit because that's where they're from. So where we went to see was in Detroit. And it was kind of weird because, like my buddy is pretty he's very anti spending money. We'll just put it that way. And in fairness, it's not like he makes a lot of money. He's definitely on the lower income side because he doesn't want to conform to a corporate job. Right. And he likes doing what he likes to do. He makes a decent living, as a worker. So he's able to, do what he needs to do. And the funny thing that we have here is he will go ahead and spend weird money on weird things, right? Like music. He'll drop $300 on albums.
Holy. Is not your friend isn't Martin Shkreli, right?
No.
Okay. Because that was the $2 million Wu-Tang guy. He's a douchebag.
No.
Okay.
My buddy would never do that. And if my buddy did that, he would release that album to everybody. Like he would be like, "Here's your money,
yeah.
boom.
Here's my $2 million. All y'all get to enjoy this now."
Oh yeah, he would release it for free, whatever he had to do. But anyway, so he doesn't like to spend a lot of money. So like when we were growing up, when we were both relatively destitute, we liked to go to a lot of shows. So we would sleep in our car, we would camp out, we would literally sit in Denny's, and sober up to the point where we could drive back.
Yeah.
We would offer to pay for a designated driver. Essentially, we would pay somebody's gas and their dinner and the ticket price of the show to drive us out there and back. This time he's like, hey, let's just get let's get a hotel room or an Airbnb or something. Let's get a bunch of people, go out to this thing. Well, it'll be a great time. It'll be like old times. Because
So
the concert was
where?
only $5.
Where was it at now?
Detroit, at a place called the Trumbleplex.
Okay. And so this is like you don't see this band live.
Not very
so like
often.
yeah, so like these are like, you know, this is like, so you were saying it's grindcore, so this is like some pretty hardcore stuff, and you don't see these guys live ever, and they show up and they're just like, hey, we're gonna play this place, and so like you just hear about it, you grab the tickets and you're in. So it's just small space. I'm guessing it's, you know, like we're not talking like a 1,000-person venue. This is a smaller venue, maybe 200-300 people.
Yes. Yeah, easily. Yes. It's a very, very small venue. And I don't know, I might be able to get some pictures up in a few minutes. I don't think I posted any pictures. Only because it was kind of I didn't know if we should or not. But you know, essentially what it is an old house, and behind it they have like a garage or a work office or something that it was. I mean, we're talking like an old brick house, like a Victorian style house. And behind
like those old big giant Detroit houses that are like 4,000 square feet and they have 19 bedrooms.
Yep.
But
and you don't get to go in the house, but it's there. And then behind the house, there's this little what used to probably be a garage or a workshop for this house.
Oh, cool.
Or maybe a combination of both.
It was the Help where they used to live. Yeah.
It could be. There is a very small, crappy toilet there.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Take a picture of it. And you did not touch anything, and I'm very happy that I used the restroom. The majority, all I had to do was pee in it. That was it. But they I don't know. Anyway, so they're a very underground type band, but we wanted to go to see them, and yeah, when we didn't know what to expect. Like we heard rumors, that they sold out. We heard rumors they turned people away. So we left early, and we went down. We left at 1 or 1:30, something like that. Drove down to Detroit, stopped once for gas and, you know, for some beef jerky, because it's kind of my thing. And I get beef jerky every time I get on a road trip. Can't help it. Have to buy beef jerky. Love beef jerky. Anyway, we get down there.
Just stop in like Dundee and just get a pile of meat. Like
we get down there about 4:00. And we drive by the place. I'm like, screw it, we're gonna drive by this place. I want to see how ghetto it is, so we know if we have to Uber or walk. I mean, it's like downtown Detroit, but it's in Woodbridge, which is like this weird. Like as we're driving through, there's all these like fancy condos, right? We're like, I don't know if we're in the right place. And then, you know, you go a little bit farther and you're like, okay, I get it. Now I understand where I'm at.
You can see bits and pieces of gentrification happening in that particular area. I was thinking when I was looking at pictures of the area, when you sent me the link, is that I was thinking of like Heritage Hill, right? So like up on the top, up on the, you know, the high spots of Grand Rapids, there are the houses that were built for what would be the upper middle class of the time. And, you know, they're big houses, and, you know, and a lot of times in the past they used to have, you know, kids and then mom and dad, and then grandpa and grandma would also be in the house. And so, like, you know, there'd be a couple of generations, maybe even 3 generations in a home at any one time. So they were usually built as larger homes, and that's one of the reasons why they're so big. It's because grandpa and grandma, and even sometimes a great or great grandma, would still be around, and so they needed space for all this stuff. And these houses in the Detroit area that you're talking about, these are the prime areas for, so a lot of renovation, a lot of gentrification is happening. So like these areas are very unique. They have a lot of culture and a lot of history, and we see, you know, condo complexes and stuff kind of working their way in, taking over any areas that were just completely demolished, as far as you know, the houses were just unkempt, and so those areas get torn down. You see condo complexes, and you see apartment complexes, and you see you know, single person homes that are just valued through the roof. And then there's these older style houses that are still around. And so I'm guessing that this place is kind of in the mix somewhere throughout the Detroit I guess mix that is happening out there. And so like this place, you said it was a Trumbleplex is what they call it?
Yeah, they call it the Trumbleplex, and it's that's what they call it. And it's an anarchist commune, essentially.
Whoa. That's a loaded topic. You're
so
gonna
that's what it is. This is
that
literally
down.
the spot that you went into. So this is the venue, was this area right here. So when when we went by, we were like, oh, holy crap. We don't know if there's nobody there. We're like, this is weird. We were told this place had lines out the door. So we went to the Airbnb, hung out, did our thing, ordered some food, and then we lifted over there. And we left. So they told us doors opened at 7:30 and the show started at 8:30. So we figured by the time we ate food and got everything ready to go, it was like 7 o'clock, a little bit before 7. We got there at 7:05 because I found a Airbnb right down the road. More than walking distance, unfortunately, but still there. I mean, it was 2 miles. We could have walked, but I'm kind of lazy. So an $8 Lyft ride
man.
plus tip was worth it. Anyway,
whatever.
So we get down there. There's nobody but the bands loading in and out. So there's where you see this stoop. I sat right here and poured a drink because it's BYOB. They didn't serve alcohol. They don't have a liquor license. You don't buy alcohol.
They're anarchists. They're not gonna fucking file.
Like me and my buddy and my other buddy, we all the three of us, we each got backpack on. I got a 5th of Jack and a 2-liter Diet Coke. I got my little thermos that I'm drinking out of. My buddy's got a 24-pack of beer in his bag. My other buddy's got like a 6-pack of beer and like a pint. And so like we're just sitting out front drinking. Yeah. Everybody's like, "Hey man, how's up?" I was like, "Oh, you want a shot?" "Yeah, I'll take a shot. Thanks, man." Give everybody a couple shots. And then about 7:30, my buddy's like, "Fuck this. I'm going up there." Runs up to the door and they just let us in. $5. Stamp your hand. And we're like, "Oh." He's like, "Yeah, you guys are sitting out there. You should just came up and asked. You could have come in like a half hour ago." We're like, "Oh, what sucks? We're just sitting out here in the cold." And then they did karaoke.
It wasn't. I will tell you that it was probably cooler. It was probably cooler that you were just hanging out, seeing people in and out. You were just being part of like sitting on a stoop. So I've been told that people who live in urban areas or whatever, like sitting on a stoop. And so when my wife was in Italy and when she was in France, like that's what people do. People in urban areas, they sit out and they just interact with the community. People just go outside and they talk, they hang out, they have a drink, they drink a glass of wine or whatever. Like, "Hey, I brought a bottle over," and they just kind of distribute around. Like that's the kind of thing that people do in their really well-knit communities. And so like I would think that this kind of thing here would be like, yeah, everybody's bringing something in. We're all going to just kind of enjoy it. And so like the anarchist, community is going to be kind of like all things are kind of allowed. There's a couple of rules for like procedures and stuff. And that's one of the things that you got on the screen right now for like how everything runs. But like, so I guess what did you experience? And then also looking at this, this rule and procedure outline, like what did you see? And then what does this also have to explain to everyone that is even remotely interested in something like this?
Yeah. And so we were told it's this big anarchist commune, right? And it's 2 houses that are put together. Their goal is to create sustainable energy, to create sustainable space. And their goal is to promote local music and art, essentially.
That's the commune part. I mean, from like any commune I've ever heard. So where's the anarchist part?
Well, their anarchist part is the difference is how what they believe and what they believe. Their goal is to provide the space for people to get away from any sort of oppression. So the idea is like, if you want to perform for a music label, right? There's fees, there's all these other things that you have to deal with. All these different things that go into it. And they're saying, "Hey, you want to come play for free? Well, you don't have to promote yourself. Come here and see us." Cool. You want to come work in our garden? You can come work in our garden. They even have these bylaws, and I'll be honest, I didn't read all the bylaws before we went, but
I skimmed through them. They're pretty cool.
You could become a member of this area, right? And then you could become a paying member. You can buy into this commune. They have house meetings. They have retreats. You can live there. They have work days. You get invested in their mission,
Yeah, they do basically like a background check. They check out to see if you're just going to be like some kind of freeloader who's just looking for a free, whatever. So in the initial FAQ, they have like, "Can you just sleep here?" No. But like, if you go through the system, if you go through whatever, you can become part of the community. You can move in, you can live there if it's the right thing for you. And everybody kind of has like, since it's a commune, everybody kind of has an input as to, should you be here? Should you not be here? Are you the kind of person that wants to be in? And then also when it comes to like the the anarchist perspective, it's like kind of letting everyone in, and then like there's no real like constraining rules, as long as, you know, it's like the eye for an eye thing. Like I would call it the state of nature, is what it seems like they're trying to break it down to. Is like, don't do anything to anyone that you wouldn't want done to you, kind of stuff. And so like we're all gonna kind of try to get together to help each other out and have this nice little community. But like, this is a place where you're not going to be given any kind of guidelines or rules that you would typically see from like the bureaucracy or for any kind of moral police. And like, in the end, it really comes down to like, this is just a place of what I would say the main rule is basically the golden rule. And that seems pretty interesting. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's the idea behind this is, you know, like they have a bus. It's a bunch of hippies.
Does that run? Does that really move?
No.
No, okay. I was
Nope,
going to say.
doesn't. It stays in the backyard.
That bus was like it's parked forever.
It is. It's definitely there forever. I don't know who. Maybe people hang out and sleep in it. I don't know.
So,
No
well,
idea.
here's the thing. Rick Rubin, you know Rick Rubin.
Oh yeah.
One of his recording studios is an old tour bus. I think it was a Beatles tour bus. He just has the bus in his place. I'm sure it's in California, but he turned the tour bus into a recording studio, all insulated and everything. It's like this, you know, there's all kinds of cool things you can do with them. Decrepit old birds, but this is a really cool concept. This is something that I really find I enjoy. Whether or not I would ever personally be able to get into it, if it was just me and my wife, maybe I would be able to get involved in something like this if my wife also was kind of interested in this kind of thing. With the children and stuff, it changes it a little bit. But I mean, I've always been really kind of interested in this. And so like this kind of concept. So one of the things I always bring into any kind of discussion of a commune, or, you know, like a new world order, a new idea of creating like a community or whatever, is I bring into the concept, you know, Walden 2 is a series of, it's a book that I read when I was younger, and it's a really cool, I never read Walden, and I'm not even familiar with the author who originally read it. Walden 2 is a book about like a utopian society that was created kind of like a 1984 type thing, where it's like, there's a perfect society, we've devised it, and it's going to be this amazing thing. But the only way you can be in it is if you are an infant grown up in it. So like you have to be separated from the rest of the world and grown into the thing, because you cannot bring anything from the old world into the new perfect society, because there's no way to actually be part of the new society if you have any of the bits and pieces of the old world. And so you have to design the person's the citizen creation from the ground up, and then there has to be a complete and total destruction of the old ecosystem, the old universe or whatever. And so like that book itself, having that, like, there's no way to create the perfect society without completely removing the old society. Whenever I see these kinds of communes and these kinds of things, like, it's awesome, but like that story always comes to mind. It's like, is there a way to remove the things we hate from, you know, the future that we love and the future that we think is going to be the greatest idea? And it's like these kind of communes, it's cool. I mean, I love the idea of it. And in reading through some of the stuff that they had, it's awesome. It sounds like a really cool thing. It sounds like a thing for like young and relatively inhibited artists. Like this kind of place, I don't think has a lot of infrastructure built for children, so it's probably not conducive too much for that, as far as like, you know, I mean, the people that would be in there. So like my assumption is that it's probably limited as far as like what it could offer, but like what it can offer for like the select group of people that can live in it is probably pretty cool.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was, you know, what attracted us was the band. What was awesome about, you know, the area was, you know, kind of the ideology behind it. And, you know, it kind of makes me say, hey, that's technically, if we think about it, if we go way back into America's history, to some extent, that's what we were built on before capitalism, like, became this rampant, disgusting thing through the Industrial Revolution. And well,
the escapism from the system that was created.
Yeah.
Like, it was nasty. It was nasty. They were escaping from like nasty. I don't know. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it when it comes to like what they used to do in Europe.
Exactly. And you know, think about it this way, like, this type of a place benefits to some extent, right? from the fact that we've now live in a modern society.
Mm-hmm.
But at the exact same time, we didn't have to get here the way we did, and we could change that, and that's what this is. And like, you know, I mean, I don't know, like some of me says if I had not had kids so young, this would have been me to some extent. You know,
I agree.
I'm not like I'm not a big artist, right? And I probably don't have a ton of like super useful talents, but some of me said, you know, like, and I'll be honest, you know, like it's kind of funny, like they had this thing up on their Facebook page to promote the event, and it said BYOB and bring drugs to share. I could tell you though, when I was in there, they didn't have a lot of drugs. There wasn't like a bunch of drugs anywhere. Like, it's not like I walked in and like people are shooting up heroin, doing coke in the corner, ecstasy, acid, nothing. People were drinking, and I won't lie, you know, and there was definitely some, you know, 420 use, you know, I mean,
hell yeah, it's Michigan, bro. It's Michigan.
But other than that,
everywhere.
There was nothing, you know, and so like, I will say that, you know, that type of, you know, environment, I felt very safe to some extent. I will say there's some crazy things that happen, and we'll play a video in a minute, I think, or maybe we'll mute it and play the video. I don't know if anybody wants to hear it. Their sound is called like, it's like extremism punk, or mathcore is what they call it. And they identify as a punk band, but their music's not really punky. It's definitely grindcore and deathcore, and they call it mathcore and whatever, you know.
I like to call it smart metal. I mean, they definitely have, it's smart. It's intelligent stuff. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, just in tonight's experience that I've been kind of seeing what they've done. It's pretty cool stuff. It's one of those things that, like, check it out, give it a minute. And it's like I plan on giving, you know, just throwing them into my system and spending some time just kind of listening to it. So, like, listening to a couple of their songs multiple times is one of the ways that I usually find whether or not I like said group. You know, you just like feel the nuances of what they have to offer. And sometimes like some of the grindcore stuff, it's a little bit. So, like, I think it might be a bias when it comes to my hearing. So, like, my hearing people speak is really tough, but these guys, they put together a pretty heavy duty sound. But like, I've been finding myself leaning more towards that as time has gone on. Throughout the years, I've just finding myself just, you know what, as far as understanding, it's not really the biggest thing anymore. It's just, is the voice an instrument, and can I listen to what they've got to offer? It's pretty cool. So, like, these guys, you know, the small dirty bar, small dirty space environment that Chris is pulling on here right now. This brings back so many memories. I love spending time with my kids, but I also dearly love being just a stinky bastard in a dirty basement listening to heavy metal is definitely one of the highlights of human life, and I will fight anyone who disagrees.
Yeah. So there's my buddy and I, you know, there's this band is called Shit Life. They are 100% grindcore, and they're making fun of like the Slayer logos and everything. 100%. I bought their album. 100% bought their album.
Someone's throwing a Mountain Dew at that last guy.
Yeah, that kind of happened a little bit. So, you know, there was some of that. No, that's us outside drinking before the show. There you go.
There you go. Right there.
That's that's the actual shot. This is literally, we were like the first ones there other than the bands. You know? Like, we were here hanging out.
You were the what do they call it? Like the kids who show up to math class first, right? Like, I'm just gonna make sure I'm here first. I'm gonna make like you were the guys at the metal show, and you're like, I'm gonna be the first kids in class.
Well, we spent all that money on the Airbnb and driving down. We're like, we can't miss this, like, at all.
Well, so that's the thing. Like, that's what I would do. I would be like the guy that's like way too like anal about all of it, and I would make sure I'm not gonna miss anything. So I like organize and restrict everything. And so you guys went, you experienced the metal show, like the band themselves, they were awesome. And so like the count, did you like, I guess was there any inkling of like the community that it was in? Was there any inkling that like while you were there, like this is a commune, this is people who live here and they work on the arts, or was like this is just a metal show, and then like you read about the commune?
No, we knew about it before we went down.
Well, no, I mean, what
Actually,
I mean is, like, was it like completely and totally visible? Like this was like a thing, or was it like, oh, this is just a metal show?
Oh yes,
and then also there's a thing.
You can see the garden behind, like the pictures I was showing you where the bus was. There's a full garden. When we got there, people were helping everybody in. They did like they did this whole thing where they did karaoke beforehand, and the lady was like, "Hey, $1 a song." Huh? I did not do karaoke. My buddy Joe did karaoke. I did not.
It was like metal karaoke. Or
you do whatever
like...
you wanted. They didn't care. Somebody sang the Spice Girls.
Oh no!
That's serious. So
you're right before a grindcore album. You're like, look, dude, I have to sing "Spice of Your Life."
Oh yeah, and then I got to look up the name of her band. We didn't know she was an artist. Honestly, we had no idea this lady was an artist. She was just here, right? And she did. Yeah, she was in a band called Slob.
Okay.
Yep. She was in this band called Slob, which is like this fuzz. It was a fuzz metal grunge band, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how. I didn't care. They were okay. They weren't bad.
Are relatively unimportant. It's like she had her own thing, and there was like everybody's just kind of going up and having a good time.
But we had no idea she was part of the whole show. Like we're sitting there, like we're all just kind of standing around. There's a bunch of people sitting on couches, you know, like we're just kind of standing there drinking, and my buddy's like, "Hey, let's go do a song." I'm like, "I don't know, man. It's not my thing. I'm not drunk yet."
My go-to song. Anytime I did karaoke, like the first song I always did was Radiohead's "Creep." That was like the song that I always. That was like the one that was the one that I enjoyed doing because I knew all the words and go through the whole thing. And then like after that, like anyone's guess as to what we ended up doing. But like, so essentially you have the karaoke experience, but also there is a pretty. We were talking about this earlier before the show, and I had a genuine like. A human moment that doesn't happen very often, where I was filled with mirth and I couldn't hold it in. Like the music video that The Armed has for what is considered a karaoke, but it's a dude with what I would describe as a Ghostbusters backpack filled with speakers and rotating lights, going into places, screaming said metal, and it reminds me a little bit of "Smack My Bitch Up" by The Prodigy, and it's just like how it's kind of like a shaky cam follow behind live action video, and it looks intense. And if it's real, cheers to the boys. That's a pretty badass video, but yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I was just like, we should have done a reaction video because my response was just genuine happiness. Like it just made me happy that the thing existed in the world, because some things do need to exist. And that video is something that does need to exist. It's glorious and beautiful and makes everyone feel happy inside. Yeah. So there's this mini bike. Oh my God.
There it is. And so this is actually how my buddy got me into this band. Just so you know, like my buddy came up to me and says, "You're going to watch this video." And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to do nothing and you're going to sit here and watch it.
The lights. It reminds me of Red Fang, the group Red Fang. They do really funny music videos, but then like this is where it gets.
We'll probably get a copyright mark for this.
Maybe,
but yeah, like we don't know if this is real or not. Like I actually wanted to ask the band this question, but I didn't know if that was like faux pas, right? Because this band is like super mysterious. Like they don't have a lot of like public information. Their goal is to not be, they don't want to be super known, right? They're here.
Or they do, but they want to be known for being like
it's a collective. They want to be known as a collective, right?
Yeah. So like there's what is it they call it? There's no such thing as bad publicity. So like it's like this group is known for not wanting to be known, and that's a good thing as far as publicity is concerned. So like everyone, there's always an angle to pull, and like you could say, or they could really genuinely be artists want their what they have, and they put out there to be what stands instead of who they are and any kind of recognizability.
Yeah. And we have no idea. Like that guy in this video was not on the stage at all.
I've never seen in any of the other stuff that we've seen with this band. We've not seen this person. There's no like duplication. So like, was this person hired? Are they part of the band? We don't know. He steals everybody's drinks and sandwiches. That would be the worst thing ever. This video makes me so happy. It just like I love it. I don't know. I do too. I'm a simple person. It just makes me happy. This guy is just like black metal shriek fest on speakers, just eating someone's club sandwich, just ruining their night. Like some guy in his like striped shirt, and he's like, "This is my stripe going out shirt," and I'm just gonna I don't know. Like I remember going out when I was in college, and there would be like that group of like 7 dudes all with like the same outfit and the same haircut, and they're all like hitting on the same girls, and just like, and then like there'd be like this one guy who was just like out there being completely different, and it would be like, look at that stupid guy, he's so weird or whatever. Like you could tell, and like
yeah.
it's kind of like a Ghostbuster. Good for him.
Yeah. So that's the band right there, right? This is actually actual footage from the actual show. Like, let's see if I can find this. Yep, here it is. This is actual footage.
This brings back a lot of memories. I've been to a lot of shows where it's just like a sweaty.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. Earlier you were seeing pictures. So that guy, this is the right side of the stage. If you watch, you can you may be able to catch me. It's really hard. I'm on the far left. I'm in the middle. So that's their smoke fog, blah, blah, blah. There's a guy in this like Gila monster suit. I better turn it down a minute. I don't know if you can hear me over this or not.
Yeah, no, we can hear you good. Or at least
But there's a guy in the middle with a Gila monster suit. That's the lead singer. He just stage dived. Beginning of the song, stage dive right into the crowd. That's a disco ball people tried to swing from. That's serious. So see that guy right there? That guy with he's holding up a champagne, a beer, right? Miller Lite or whatever it is. Miller High Life. That guy right there.
Yeah.
There's me. You just see me right there.
Oh shit.
And there's this. I'm serious. This dude, before they opened up, he was walking around pouring it on people. He's like, "Open your mouth!" He just started pouring it all over people. Like he had like 2 or 3 bottles with him. He's just going crazy in there.
That's cool.
And their PA system sucked. It was awful. I'll be honest. Like
it has to be, because what I'm looking at right now is like, just can we put 1,000 pounds of electrical equipment in a fishbowl? Like,
well, and it's all they're like, watch what they do with their mics later. Like, I mean, that guy's in the audio. Okay, he's right now.
The lead singer down in the shed. Yeah,
he's singing and moshing at the exact same time. And if you watch later on, there's a pole, and you probably will never see it, but there's this pole. I wish I could point on the screen. Oh, I guess I can with my mouse. There's a pole to the left of here. He wraps his mic cord around this pole and then jumps back up on stage later. And I don't know if this video will have it or not, but he does. And it's just crazy because it's like again, this whole time, and he's got a corded mic. It's not a wireless mic, which you would think they would get. Like that would be like the idea here.
No, this is anarchism, man. The wire. Like, it keeps you free from the system, and then here comes the girl in the lightning outfit.
She's a lead singer too, and see, look, you can see that cord, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then she goes out. Now she's crowd surfing. You're like, what the fuck? Like, are you guys going to perform a concert now? So there they are. I got a picture with the dude. We couldn't find her afterwards. We tried, but. You can't go much more than like 15 people to the left, and there's tables and booths. So there's probably like 400 people in there. And here's the best part. So like all those boxes, the band 2 bands before them, which I don't have a video of, and I should have, but I was worried my camera get broke. But 2 bands before, there was this band that goes on stage and goes, "You all like Christmas?" you don't want some effing Christmas presents? And he starts throwing Christmas presents into the crowd while he's like screaming. One of them was a VCR.
Oh my god!
It's a wrapped
VCR. You sons of bitches! Just like toss VCRs. That's crazy. He probably went to the Goodwill or something and bought a bunch of random crap.
Who knows?
Dude, that
I got
lead singer, that bearded lead singer, dude, he's like huge. He just took on like 7 people jumping into the crowd.
Oh yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Like this kind of thing here is like this is the kind of stuff that I used to go to. So like my old buddy, he and I, like every weekend, I used to call him up. I was like, hey, what's going on? And he'd be like, I don't know. Like, okay, we would go through the system and we would find whatever metal shows were going on in the city, and we would just go. And they were like this. There would be like 300, 400, 500 people venues. A lot of times they wouldn't be this full, but they would be like, we would just go see experimental stuff. We would go see all the small, whatever the hell, what's going on. And it was awesome. It was so cool.
Yep, there he goes again. He just jumped on me. See, there's a pole right there. I swore, because I had to like back off a little bit because I had records in my backpack from some of the bands I bought records from.
Oh, like records or CDs?
Records, man.
Albums.
Yep,
you
I bought albums.
You have a record player.
I do, yeah.
You are a rare millennial. Although I was just recently told that albums will outpace CDs this year for sales.
I actually will probably never, like, if they sell a record. I mean, the problem I have is like a lot of bands will sell record albums and they'll be like $20-$30, and then like the CD's $5 or $10, and it's like, god damn it, like,
I know.
I don't even like CDs. I don't even like the collective media. I kind of like collecting the albums a little bit now more than anything else. My buddy hates it because he's like, he can't listen to them. He has a record player, but he doesn't want to listen to it. And
well, if you have a record
blah.
player, the good record players that can like digitize, so you can take them with you when you go places, and then you have your really nice copy. And so, like, I mean, there's a bit of an initial investment, a financial investment on that. It's like, I personally just I CD because you get that is the highest quality digital media you can get, besides like a direct vinyl. And so like I just CD, and then I copy it to all my digital devices, so I have a copy everywhere I go. But like,
but you can hear the crappy PA. I mean, it's like they over tweaked it. They blew it out. So if you watch, you'll eventually see me.
Live show is a bad engineer. Like that, I've seen a couple.
It's really bad. It's like their mics are. They posted in their Facebook that they need new mics now. I mean, watch what he's doing with his mic.
Like the entirety of what like this band is like the sound and the performance.
There's me right there.
Yeah, I see him. He's just like running through the crowd with the mic, like the sound and the experience.
There's me, right there.
The sound and the experience is it's 2-part thing. Like you're not just like there as a spectator. You're a participant.
Oh yeah.
That makes small venues. So like the same thing happens in small hip hop and small. I mean, I'm assuming it happens in small country music. I don't know, because that's just an alien concept to me. But like just like small metal, small venues, small rock, small hip hop. Like I've seen all of those things. And like
watch,
he's about to slam people with he's gonna. He's like a shark. I'm gonna put the ball and I'm gonna throw it in your face.
like, I don't know if it's on this video, but there's part of it. I can't remember if it was this year or last year, but there's like people like swinging from that thing, and it might be this video. I guess we'll play the whole video. There's no copyright mark because it's not even on their Facebook page or anything, but.
It's pretty cool. Like this reminds me back of my youth when I used to go to metal shows, and like before I was 21, so like I would be at the show and I'd be like just loaded in adrenaline and caffeine, and just like drinking Red Bulls, energy drinks, just like full on. Like later on, you get a little bit older, and you like drink stuff, whatever. But like you got like a place like this is low enough underground where you have to like bring the booze in your belly, so to speak. Like Patton Oswalt says that his favorite way to watch the Jerry Maguire movie is to sneak a bunch of whiskey into the theater in his belly. Like that's the kind of thing. Like we would go out, we slam a whole bunch of booze so you get have it in your stomach when you go to the show. But like just a small venue like this, it's good times, man. It's like when you're younger, you can go. So like as time goes on, like your kids are a little bit older, so you can make the space for the time, so you can go do something like this. Because this is awesome. Like these small bands are pretty cool. But like that video is awesome. And seriously, that dude in the karaoke system, if that's real, that makes me genuinely happy. And I'm just gonna force myself to believe that it's real. Because that is a better world, and if everyone else gets to believe that there's a God and that makes them feel better, can I at least have one music video that makes me feel better? That's all I ask.
Yeah. That's fair, right?
Fair enough, right? Yeah, that's a nice commiseration.
So here, this is my iPhone video that I dared to record.
Oh no! Oh no!
In the mosh pit.
It's upside down.
That's like I didn't know my phone was upside down. I'm just like trying to hold on to my phone and not lose it. There you go. That's like live
That's
from.
Awesome. Dude, I have my Google like video drive, like it messages me every once in a while from like, years and years ago. It's like, hey, you remember this thing that you did? I'm like, no. I was like, well, we've been watching you the whole time. And like I'll have years ago of like photos and videos I took of like seeing like Mushroom Head live at the intersection. Or like, because Mushroom Head, that's a Cleveland band. Although as far as I know, there isn't like a single member that's original from the band, but like seeing like Mushroom Head, Twisted, and Fear Factory, and like all of these awesome bands and GRs. Like back in the day, I used to see some really cool stuff, and so like I know a couple of guys at work that are interested in local metal, and one guy in particular is like just fully involved in the scene. He's young, he's single, and so like it's like, hey man, what's going on? Like once I have like a little bit more of a stable perspective on what's going on in the area, maybe I'll be able to check out what the Cleveland metal scene is, and then I can bring my own anarchist weekend to the perspective. But I really think that everything that these people have to offer, like the Trumbleplex, is really cool. Like it's an artist commune. It's a really growth thing. Good. There's a lot of those kinds of things around. And then on top of that, like what they have to offer as far as music concerts and venues, that's pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I liked it a lot. It was kind of a, I know it's kind of a new experience. I mean, not new per se, but more recent. Like, and it's funny because there was this band called Solemn Judgment, right? And they're the same thing. Not quite as aggressive, but they're a Kalamazoo band, and like you don't get to see them very often. And that was kind of, they are friends with the Arm, and so they played, and it was really awesome to be able to see them. And it's kind of funny because nobody knows who was in this band. And I'm gonna mute this. I'm gonna bring this in. I don't want to take all the F words out of this. So this is an actual video I took. This is my buddy singing.
Oh, this is like karaoke stuff.
Yeah, this is the karaoke. This is the stage. There's the lead singer of the Arm.
Just walking on stage.
Yeah, he's doing all the setup. All these guys are working. Dude, as part of this.
That's the way
venue.
it is. That's one of the things that was one of my favorite things about being on. Like, and if you were at an independent show, you could watch the band set up and take their own shit away. Like the guys in the band would fold up their stuff. Yeah. Like there is a level of like, this is the real world. And then like, there's like, oh, I'm going to a concert at the Van Andel, and I'm going to concert at the Agora Theater in Cleveland here. And like, you're not going to see any of the band until they're on stage. But at these little places here, man, you're going to see the real people. And it's so cool.
Yeah. And the funny thing was that guy, he was over on the side of the stage where you couldn't see him by me drinking. Like he came back out and he was rocking out to this. And afterwards, he told my butt when we got pictures with him, like we were very surprised because we heard they don't do pictures. They don't do anything. You don't do signatures, nothing. And my buddy's all big in on the pictures.
They probably ride that. And like, don't expect shit. And then when they show up, they're like,
super cool. We waited around. Yeah. We walked up. We're like, hey, can we get a picture with you, man? He's like, oh yeah, no problem, man. Anything you want. And like, he's like, You were the guy that did that weird karaoke. I love it. And
What song did he sing?
I'll play the here. Maybe you know this song. Maybe you know this song. Oh, hold on. Gotta unmute it.
Mountains too. Don't like a thing about your city. I hate the countryside too.
I can't hear it. What is he singing?
And I hate everything about you. He said it's I hate everything about you. It's
the Breaking Benjamin or
no.
Third 3 Days Grace.
No.
What?
Oh my god. Seriously?
I hate everything about you. Right?
They're not the original ones that sing it.
Okay, so who sang it then?
I believe it was Kid Joe or something like that.
Oh, my only familiarity was the Third Eye, or yeah, whatever those guys. I don't know, like 2000 metal, like just like GRD, any of the local radio stations or whatever from West Michigan. Like I just like, yeah, I'm gonna check out. I'm not gonna pay attention a whole lot to that. But yeah, yeah.
No, yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I hate everything about you. I think it's Kid Joe.
Oh,
It's like weird country-ish.
oh.
Everything about you. Hate everything about you.
I don't.
I was just trying to look it up. That's that's something else. But either way, like it was always like tongue in cheek while he was up there on stage. So I mean, that's the important thing. He's just having a good time. So, but while he's on stage, he's you see one
Ugly
of the
Kid Joe. There you go.
Oh yeah, Ugly Kid Joe. So like you see one of the guys from like the lead band that's on stage is gonna be just walking on stage taking care of his stuff.
Yeah, we had no idea he was who he was at first. We had like I kept going, I'm pretty sure that's that guy, and my buddy's like, yeah, I think so, and then we went up there, and then afterwards, yeah, he told him that he's like, yeah, I really liked your karaoke. That was pretty cool that you did that one.
That's cool.
Oh.
That's cool, man. I'm glad you had a good time just traversing and getting away from Wisconsin for a minute. I mean, I haven't had any real big adventures on my end, but it's pretty cool to see those kinds of things going on. I mean, you gotta have a little bit of life in you.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the only way to do it nowadays, you know.
Kind of. You got to force it in.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun time. I would do the experience again. I would go if you find an underground grindcore metal show in Cleveland, let me know. I'll drive out and see you as long as you stay at your house.
I've been trying to keep track of it and see what I've got to find. I'm still slowly finding my way around this area, but there is a pretty fat music base.
Oh yeah, I mean the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is there, for Christ's sake.
That's not an indicator of quality, though.
I don't know, man.
It's not. There's like Bon Jovi cover bands everywhere, dude. Like you have to be explicit in what you're looking for. But yeah.
Either way, I think it's kind of fun. It was a fun time. Just a fun episode. We haven't done one with just the two of us in quite some time.
Yeah,
bring back old memories.
Since August, man, it's been a good time. You know, we used to do stuff with just like rattle off things and do the Tanner tangents for a bit.
We did. That was kind of a tangent, you know. I tangented
it
earlier.
Was, man. It was a good one.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I figured you'd appreciate it more than anybody else because of the metal aspect to it. So
hell yeah, it's cool as hell. Like that dude, like beards and metal fighting. That's a good time. Like those guys, they had a good time. You can tell just from the video.
Yep. Afterwards, we went to a Coney Island. We lifted to a Coney Island, ate
Way
Coney
fun.
dogs, lifted back to the Airbnb, had a great time. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. It was a very wonderful that you came out and experienced Cellar Door Skeptics again before the end of the year. Now that Hannah's settled, he'll be a more regular for the show. If you would like, you can join us on Patreon and actually sponsor the show. All the proceeds go to keeping the show running more than our pocketbooks. I don't think any of us have ever taken money out of it. And in the long run, we donate 100% of all profits every year to different charities. So, donate and we give back for every dollar that you donate to us. So,
Yeah,
thank you
definitely.
all so much. We'll see you bright and early in the new year. We had one episode before this that was a serious episode, and then this is our kind of end of the year episode. So, thank you all for joining us and have an amazing night.